Hi, my name is Scott Picken. I'm the founder and CEO of Migrate and the founder and chairman of International Property Solutions, IPS. And it's really interesting because I put that post on about estate agents, and I think most estate agents didn't even actually read the post because I didn't say that they didn't deserve commission. What I said was, did they deserve and were they creating the value that was required? And I actually spoke about an estate agent that literally had turned down an offer to sell my house for 5% including VAT, and yet didn't even ask me what price we were going to try and get, which is ultimately, it's all about results and the value that you're adding. And what I tried to say was that it's all about technology, and technology has disrupted every industry on the planet basically, whether it's travel, whether it's tourism, whether it's the newspapers, whether it's media, whether it's online, whether it's music, whether it's, literally you name it. And now it's coming to real estate, it's coming to property, and whether people like it or not. And so that is the question I was asking. And just like Uber has cut out the middleman, reduced the costs, increased efficiency, and just made it a far more pleasant experience for everybody, obviously at the demise of the taxi industry, well, that's why it's a $44 billion company. And whether South Africa likes it or not, it doesn't matter what the rates are in South Africa or whether South Africans feel justified to earn what they think they should earn. It's exactly like Uber in France and Uber in South Africa. It's Uber all over the world, and it's going to happen. The world is becoming democratized. The world is becoming flat. And if we don't add value, super value, then it's not going to happen. So the first thing for me is that in every profession, one professional out of 10 is generally very good at what they do, and the other 9 are generally fairly average. And when technology comes along, they will be replaced. That's why we still have travel agents to this day, really good ones, some of them, but the majority of them are gone because all of us have the common sense to go online and book our flights without them. They're surplus to requirement. And TripAdvisor can also teach us about how to actually, whether we can actually trust someone, whether we're going on holiday. We don't need a travel agent to tell us. So that's the first thing. The second thing is everyone said to me, you're looking to leave South Africa. I said, no, I didn't say I was looking to leave South Africa. In fact, I'm standing here in Knysna. You can see my South African flag flying from my house here. I'm a very passionate South African, a very upset South African about losing to Australia yesterday, but very passionate South African. But I'm also not stupid. And my point being is that I'm passionate about the country, but my money needs to just be where it's going to get the best returns. So I've been investing in South Africa since 1999, and I looked at my portfolio and I thought to myself, okay, right. And there were 3 major things that came through for me. Firstly, my properties overseas are a lot easier to manage. Okay, let me give you one example. One of my houses in London, about 3 months ago, my tenants got hold of me. They said, listen, we want to repaint the house. And I said, okay, cool, what's that going to cost? And they said, no, we'll do it ourselves. All that you have to do is pay for the paint. I said, the whole inside of the house? They said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, how much is that going to cost me? And they said, £45. I was like, are you kidding me? I said, no. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you £200 and buy yourself a whole bunch of cases of beer and have lots of fun as well. But that's the philosophy when you're dealing in a first world, how easy it is in comparison to the rubbish that we put up with here in South Africa. In comparison, one of my Joburg apartments in Bryanston, very nice apartment. It stood empty for a number of months, which is ridiculous because it's never stood empty ever, which I put 100% down to the incompetence of the management agent. But then on top of that, when we did get a tenant, the next month, my rent's normally like 10,000 Rand a month. And I got like 1,000 Rand in my account. I'm like, what's going on? And basically, they had brought in a cleaning company, a maintenance company, and the guy he charged 8,500 Rand to fix the apartment. I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about, fixing the apartment. I was in the apartment a month before it actually got, supposedly got damaged, okay, because I went in to take all the pictures because I actually just gave up with these management agents. They were so flippin' useless. And I thought I'll do it all myself. And so I know what the quality of the property was. And basically what had happened is the tenant had moved in, damaged the property on the way in, clearly because we actually found out what the problem was. They wanted me to repaint the whole building. The management agent went ahead and did that. And so I ended up earning 1,500 Rand for the month. Okay, that's the difference. Do you see the difference? In Australia, one of our properties, we actually did an inspection thing. And basically it came back that the brickwork wasn't good enough. Okay, and so we literally went back to the builder and said, listen, you need to fix this. And he said, okay, he'll render the whole property, which is plaster the whole outside of the property. And do you know how many lawyers' letters were involved? Not one. Because they know they've got a licensing system, and if they don't comply with the licensing system, they'll lose their builder's license, they won't be able to build. And on top of that, he paid for 3 weeks' lost rent. On top of that, okay, and to render plaster an entire house was his entire profit margin gone without one single argument or fight because the rules and the laws work. In comparison, in South Africa, Aquicor, and yes, I will name and shame them, Aquicor, down in Cape Town, builds a property called Palm Springs. It is ridiculous. In fact, it's the best designed building in the world. It's actually like a sponge. It's found out how to absorb water. Okay, so it is literally, there are latent defects everywhere. We got structural engineers involved. I was actually on the body corporate. We went to the NHRBC, who basically are just a bunch of incompetent idiots and did absolutely nothing. And so Aquicor to this day is still building developments all over Cape Town and Joburg. I own, and everyone that I've bought from them is like a sponge. It absorbs water. And so do you see, you've never got any recourse here. Basically nothing works, okay? So whether it's the tenants just basically stuffing the place up, whether it's the laws and how I can't evict a tenant. I nearly got sent to jail for trying to evict a tenant who worked for F&B Home Loans, in F&B Home Loans, and yet wasn't paying my rent. And the irony was I actually had a mortgage with F&B, and I went to see her boss, and her boss was like, not interested whatsoever, it's not his problem. And basically it was just a black-white thing. And I, as a white person, was in the wrong for owning the property. And basically, the cops came to arrest me. I mean, it's absolutely, there's a whole long story behind that, but it's absolutely ridiculous that my property rights are not protected. So these are just the things that my own experiences over the last, 17 years or whatever. But then you take on top of that all the positive experiences. I invested in our medical buildings about 3-4 months ago. My wife and I did, and we put a decent amount of cash in there. And in simple terms, 3 months later, I didn't have to do anything. I had to do 2 things. I had to sign a contract, and I had to tell the bank where to send the money. That was it, okay? Everything else was taken care of, okay? Then 3 months later, they phoned me up and they said, where do you want to get paid? I'm like, wow. And I mean, the cash on cash return is 11.5%. That means if I put 100 Rand in, I get 11 Rand back on my 100 Rand. And that's not capital growth or fixated numbers. That is pure rental income on the property, cash on cash return. That's not taking into account that the price that we bought the property at and what's happening with cap rates, and I could go into all the details if you want to, but the cap rates have dropped from, we bought it at over 8 and they're already sitting at 5.6, which means we've generally probably got on both the medical buildings I've invested in well over 20 to 30% capital growth. And that's in US dollars, my friends. US dollars. So we've got tenants on 10-year leases, not the scrappy rubbish that I have to deal with here. We're dealing with qualified professionals, and all of my biggest hassle is actually what to do with my money and where's it coming from. So, when you look at it, I look at this property here. It's my home. So for all those people that get hold of me wanting to sell my home, no, I'm not interested in selling my home. A home is not an investment. This is where I live. I have the privilege of living in Knysna. It's a fantastic place, and I found out because one of the estate agents got hold of me because of my message that our property's gone up, and whether she's right, who knows, I doubt it. But my point being is she says we made some good money over the last 2 years. So I thought to myself, well then is investing in South Africa a good thing? And I think there's 3 things that are important here. Firstly, why has Teesson Island gone up? Okay, well, the bottom line is the Rand's been devaluing. So like I actually asked the agent, she said it's because all the foreigners are coming in buying houses. So effectively, if you buy top-end property, like what's happened in Cape Town, you do almost have a Rand hedge because prices go up as the Rand devalues because foreigners can come in. But my properties in Joburg have seen no growth virtually whatsoever. In fact, one of the valuations I got was not too dissimilar off the purchase price that I bought it for back in 2007. They actually cost me money, okay, versus my UK properties and my Aussie properties and my American properties. They're all cash flow positive from day one. They are cash flow positive. And so I look at this property and I think, well, we've made about 2 million Rand out of this property, supposedly according to the agent. I highly doubt it. And at 7.5% plus VAT, I've virtually made nothing. But anyway, that's a joke if I was to sell. But let's just look at that. Okay, well, 2 years ago we put a 1 million Rand deposit down. That in those days it was 8 Rand to the dollar, so that was $120,000 that we put down as a deposit effectively. With $120,000, I could have bought 3 houses in America. In those days, okay. Those 3 houses in America have actually gone up in capital growth between 30 to 50%. So on my actual money, I would have literally doubled my money in US dollar terms, okay. Plus, they were cash flow positive from day one, okay. And thirdly, in terms of hassle, well, I've just explained the hassle factor in comparison with what I've dealt with in South Africa, okay. So when you look at it on the nutshell, you say, 2 million Rands, great, I must keep investing in South Africa. No, you're wrong. Okay, because on top of that, I've made 2 million rand, but now the rand's sitting at 12 rand to the dollar. So actually, I've lost 50% in currency over the last just 2 years. Just 2 years. Okay, I've lost 50% in currency. So where are we going to be in another 2 years? Or maybe another 5 years from an investment perspective? Then you look at the Cape Town market, and yes, the Cape Town market's growing better than anywhere else in the country, and that's because everyone is trying to move south, because they're leaving Joburg. So I think that's had an impact. And I mean, everyone knows that the market in Cape Town is very frothy. But generally in that mid-tier market, if you go up to Joburg, there's a complete oversupply coming. I know, I've got lots of property. I can see it with regards to the demand for tenants. And there's SummerCon units going up everywhere, okay? And the point being is, what does that impact? I've always gone for that mid-market, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartments, and there's an oversupply. I can tell you because unless my management agents are useless, which is a good chance of that as well. So the point being is that, for me, it's just looking at actual facts and then making decisions. So am I leaving South Africa? No, I love South Africa. I'm passionate about South Africa. But am I going to make sensible decisions about where to put my money? Yes. And if you've looked at the book Property Going Global, I did a whole lot of analysis. I've done this. And most people make gut feel decisions. I use scientific research. We've got the global property system, which is a model I put together with Clem Sunter. And I actually look back. If you invested in 1978, which is as far back as statistics can go, in Australia versus South Africa, today you'd be 2.5 times wealthier. Yes, ladies, 2.5 times wealthier if you invest in Australia. In England, it's more than double. And in America, it's more than double. And I mean, I can give you all the exact stats if you really want them. But the bottom line is, so if that's happened for the last 30 years, why will it not happen for the next 30 years? And really, when you use common sense of what's actually happening and where we're at, I don't see any way that it won't happen. So again, my logic is, in South Africa, it's a country you understand, it's an emerging market, there's fantastic opportunity, there's a great way to create fast wealth. But then what you need to do is to be able to preserve the wealth. So hopefully that answers many, many people who've been asking me this question. Are we leaving the country? Is it all doom and gloom? No, it's not. It's just pure financial analysis. And the world is global. I believe the world is our playground now. I can get to live in Nice and I spend the whole morning on the beach with my son. It's the most beautiful day here. And yet I can have my wealth in first world assets that not only is being preserved, wealth preservation, I also have a plan B because I've got 3 different passports, and I've most importantly got peace of mind for my family. And so that is why we are diversifying and selling our South African properties. We're not force selling them. We're not rushing, because that's what most people do. They rush and they lose money. We're putting them out of the market. We're seeing what we can get. And if we get the prices we want, then we'll sell them. And slowly over time, we'll take that value and we'll put it into first world assets. That's the strategy. And we'll live here for as long as we like. We'll keep accumulating first world assets, and that will give us the freedom. This is the word that's most important to me. This will give us the freedom to do anything that we want for our family. And I've just seen my lovely wife come outside. Don't you want to come say hello? No. So my wife says no. She's a bit camera shy. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully that answers your question. I was only going to do a little 2-minute video. I know I've taken quite a lot longer. But I think really for me, this is something that I'm deeply passionate about. I come from a place of abundance. I come from a place of results, and I come from a place of big picture, and most importantly, living your life and living your dreams and having the freedom to be able to do it. And when I put that post up there, all I see is scarcity and negativity. I'm not negative. I spent yesterday on Mandela Day, literally spent 90 minutes training children. I've trained over 45 kids here in Knysna, because I think that the kids are the future of South Africa. And if we can empower them with entrepreneurship education, we have a future for this country. So I'm not a negative person. I'm 100% got my money where my mouth is. I've got putting my time where my effort is, and behind this beautiful flag here in our country. But I tell you what, I'm also not an ostrich and just going to bury my head in the sand with deep kind of passion and just think that it's absolutely fantastic and that all my investments make sense. And on the back of that, our CFO, I've actually been talking to him. What I've asked him to do is to analyze my entire portfolio back from 99, everything, income, expenses, growth, everything across all the different countries, to be able to show us the exact results. Now, I don't have that for you today, but I know what the results are because I'm fairly switched on when it comes to numbers. But most importantly, it's not just about the numbers. It's about the hassle factor as well. And then also, with half my family coming from Zim, I still technically own 3 farms in Zimbabwe. I don't have to worry in Australia, England, or America whether one day I might or might not have my property asset. And like I told you, the cops have already tried to arrest me for me being the landowner and my tenant not paying, and supposedly I'm in the wrong because my tenant's not paying and I'm trying to put pressure on her. You know, they've got all the protections. It's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. I am the asset protector. I'm the one that should be being looked after because we're the people that build a country. We are the people, and land and wealth rights are the most important. And that brings me to the very last thing, which is actually a webinar that we did last year in November with Davy Roerts and the second in charge of land affairs in South Africa, which was unbelievable. And if you don't know this, you need to go and look at AfriForum. There are 14 things that they are trying to change when it comes to land rights, in the Constitution. Now, again, you can bury your head in the sand or you can actually look at the reality. And when they start tampering with being able to own land, that is one of the biggest problems anywhere in the world. And literally Zimbabwe went from one of the greatest countries in Africa in 99, the best economy in Africa in 99, to 2001 being the worst financial disaster ever. 2 years. And so that's the other thing. It happens so quickly that you don't even see what's coming. And so for me, why panic? People lose money when they react. Why not just be proactive? And, if that never happens in South Africa, which I really hope it never does because I want to live here for generations to come, well, it doesn't matter. I still have first world assets paying me a first world income. And like last Friday when, one of my teammates got back to me and said, listen, it's the quarterly review and you owed money, where do you want it? I mean, that's a beautiful problem to have. Where should I put my US dollars? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Hopefully it's given you some impact. And for you estate agents out there, please, I'm not being negative. We need to ask ourselves the difficult questions, because if we're not prepared to ask ourselves the difficult questions, someone else will. And if you're not adding value, technology will make you redundant. I guarantee it. So hopefully, if nothing else, the top people out there, I will help you make sure that you're part of the future. Anyway, that's my message. Scott Picken coming from Knysna on an absolutely magnificent day, deeply passionate, very pissed off about the rugby, to be honest, but hopefully that's answered everyone's questions and I don't have to go and write 4,000 posts on Facebook to reply to everyone. Cheers. Thanks.